It is day one of working on the 240 down in California. What's up everyone? Welcome back to this channel. Like I said, today we're getting started on the 240 for the first time down here in California. If you're new to the channel, we've been working on this car for a little bit over the last 6 months or so, but it's been pretty slow. Hunter was doing some of the fab work on it, but now we are diving into it head first and I'm super excited. So as you can see, I was messing around with the radiator and front mount intercool on there just to see what it looked like. Getting a little bit hyped just to see kind of some of the pieces that I have that have been sitting in our closet for the most part actually on the car and what they look like. So we're gonna start working on this today, pull all this stuff off, and the first order of business is pulling the engine out of the car. And then I'm gonna make the transmission up to it, drop it back in the car, see if we need to do any clearancing on the transmission tunnel. So that's the first order of business, let's get started. Alright, so we got the engine hooked up to the good old Harbor Freight engine hoist, picked that up last week, as well as an engine stand to mount the engine on while the car is getting worked on, that I can actually start assembling that so it's ready to drop back in the car once we get it back. So I'm gonna go ahead and start pulling the engine actually out of the car, and we'll see you guys once it's done. All right, we have the 2J on the ground behind me, so we're gonna go ahead and pull the transmission up, look at getting this mated up just temporarily. We're not gonna deal with any of the clutch or anything because it is gonna get pulled apart again to be put on the engine stand, but we're gonna grab the transmission, start getting this mounted up, and then put it in there and see how close it is. Hopefully there's not too much clearance into the transmission tunnel that we need to do. From what I've seen, it looks like it might be a moderate amount. So we'll see in a sec. All right, so as you can see, we got the transmission sitting in behind the engine here, so it's all lined up. So we're gonna go ahead and get these bolts into the bell housing, kind of make this all into one piece, and then start working it back into the car and getting the transmission mounted where it's gonna go in the car. I'm hoping it will fit with minimal work to the transmission tunnel, but knowing how these swaps go and kind of having seen that before, I think there's gonna be a bit of massaging necessary. So we're gonna go ahead and throw that in the car once we get this all put together. So let's get on it. All right, so we have the transmission paired to the engine. It's all torqued down, should be good to go. We're gonna get it back on the engine hoist and drop it into the car. Alright, so unfortunately things don't always go as planned when you're working on cars. So we got the engine and transmission pretty much in where they needed to go. The engine was sitting on the engine mounts, but the transmission just wouldn't go all the way up into the tunnel where we needed it to go for a couple of reasons. It needs to be clearanced a little bit around the sides, and the shifter hole needs to be cut out a little bit so that can come up there because this transmission is just slightly longer than the stock one. So I don't want to start going about cutting that and cut off too much. I really want to cut the most minimal amount away from that. So I'm going to look a little bit online and see what needs to be cut out there, try to get a better idea of that, hit the computer, check that out, and then we're going to be back at it tomorrow. But in the meantime, we're going to pull the engine and trans back out, just set it on the ground. So we'll see you guys in the morning. All right, what is up everyone? We're back for day 2 of working on this thing. So we're gonna focus on a few things today. So obviously we wanna get that engine and transmission in. My buddy Russell's coming over to help out finish up on the tubs over here. So if you look at the tubs down here, they're actually missing kind of the side piece there. So he's gonna help me get those welded in. So today we're gonna focus on getting those kind of cut out and templated, prepping the car so that he can come over like in a week or so and get those welded on. He's also bringing over like a mini sledgehammer that I can use to massage that transmission tunnel like we talked about yesterday, so we can actually get that transmission to fit. So let me jump under the car and I'll show you guys what we're looking at under there. All right, excuse the bad lighting, but under the car here, so this is where the light is pointing, is where the transmission crossmember mounts up. So that's where their main clearance issue is in trying to get that transmission in. So we're just gonna go ahead and kind of clearance that all the way up there, hopefully try to get that in about 1/4 of an inch without affecting the mounting holes. So that's what we're gonna work on. I'll show you guys that process a little bit. But yeah, that's the goal for today. So we didn't get as far as I was hoping to, but hey, that's just working on cars. But as you can see, the engine is sitting pretty much in the car. It's on the engine mounts, so we're good to go there. The one thing that's really holding us up is the transmission mount that goes on there and mounts to the cross member, uses the stock bolts. Well, I bought the transmission by itself, so I don't actually have those bolts. So I need to go to a hardware store tomorrow, find those bolts, and then we can get that positioned where it needs to go to make sure that everything's kind of lined up engine and transmission wise. So if you want to follow me over to the car, just looking in here, you can see the shifter, it's pretty close to where it needs to go, but having that final positioning of where it's mounted in there is going to be a lot more indicative of that. So I want to get that mounted up, see if I need to notch out behind there, which it looks like I may need to about 1 inch or so. So that's really the hold up, but that's going to wrap up this week's video. I hope you guys found it enjoyable. I know it wasn't all that exciting, but we are working on this car. We're making progress forward. I'll be out of town next weekend, so there may be no video, but following that, we're gonna be diving into this a little bit more. We've got a guy coming from a body shop to give me a quote on paint this week. So we're gonna get the ball rolling. Thank you so much for watching. If you're not already, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next week.